A completely new liquidity cycle is about to get started, and this is massive for Bitcoin and just all of the markets, because what is going to be happening next year tomorrow will be absolutely massive. Because tomorrow the Fed is going to end their QT, and also this upcoming week we have much and much more super important stuff happening. So this is going to be a very important update videos, because I personally think that we have one of the most important weeks ahead of us out of this entire year. So let's discuss exactly that. What can we be expecting from off the Bitcoin price action regarding all of these important events? We will discuss this and much more in today's update video. And of course, I will also give a big update on my trading positions. So from there, guys, make sure to first of all come over to the channel, subscribe to the channel, watch and like my latest YouTube videos, and then we can dive into the most important content. Since from 1st of December, so tomorrow, the Federal Reserve is going to end their QT program. So they will be stopping draining down this Fed balance sheet, and that is going to be an absolutely massive macro shift for markets, but also for Bitcoin. Because if we historically zoom in into what happened last time, we can see quite some interesting stuffs. Because for this, we need to go back to 2019, where Bitcoin also topped out slightly before QT ended, which also exactly happened now for Bitcoin. Then we entered somewhat of a longer downtrend, and of course we saw COVID getting started, which was also the big catalyst of QE basically getting started, but QE started before COVID did even hit. But without COVID, we probably did not see such aggressive QE here. So now there is no guarantee that the Fed is going to start QE once again. We simply don't know yet, but the logical next step from after the ending of QT is indeed going to be QE. And also, if QE is not going to get started, it is always better for the markets and definitely for risk assets like Bitcoin and crypto to not see the drainage of liquidity in the markets, which basically QT is, with the drainage of the Fed balance sheet. So in my opinion, it is definitely a very important event we have upcoming for tomorrow. And maybe we are going to get even more clarification of it from Powell itself, because next week we have a lot of stuff happening. Tomorrow we have a Powell speech. At the same day, QT is going to be ending, and we have some important data coming out regarding the US business cycle with the PMI and ISM. On Wednesday, we have even more PMI and ISM data, so even more info about that US business cycle. Then on Thursday, we have the initial jobless claims and the US trade deficit. And on Friday, we have some important PCE inflation data. So a lot of different stuff and events and data this week, but most importantly are going to be those rate cut odds for the next FOMC meeting, because for now it looks like the Fed is going to cut rates once again at the 10th of December at the next FOMC meeting, but also maybe Powell can be giving us some more clarity about QT. Maybe he's going to mention something about QE. That is definitely going to be massive, and that is why I will be live streaming all of these events tomorrow on the channel, of course. But yeah, let's see about exactly that. Also, his tone is going to be a very important one, because if he's going to be hawkish once again, that is going to be bearish for crypto, because then the rate cut odds can be coming down ever so slightly. If he's going to be dovish once again, then the rate cut odds could rise even more, or they're just going to stay stable, which in my opinion also going to be bullish for crypto. And actually, last Powell speech during the FOMC, we saw Bitcoin only coming down from off that point, because that was basically the moment where Powell turned a little bit more hawkish, and at that moment the rate cut odds were in favor of no change during the next FOMC meeting. So let's see about exactly that, but definitely this week is going to be super important. US business cycle data is of course also important for Bitcoin, and the PC inflation data could also be having a big effect on those rate cut odds next week. What we do know is that from all of the last FOMC meetings is that Bitcoin has been pumping into the FOMC meetings, and then after the FOMC meetings we have been dumping. Personally, I also really think that this depends on how hawkish or dovish Powell is going to be. If Powell is going to be super dovish here at this FOMC meeting, we are probably going to move higher, but it is definitely quite an interesting pattern we have playing out after all of these FOMC meetings, where we have seen rate cuts, because we have seen this could be the third rate cut after each other. We are definitely in the middle of an easing cycle, also with the ending of QT here. So that is indeed absolutely massive. On the Bitcoin chart itself, we can still be seeing that Bitfinex longs are going insanely long. We are now at somewhat of the highest levels this entire cycle for the Bitfinex wheels. They are still going long on Bitcoin. They still think this reversal is going to continue further to the top side, and I think that's a very bullish signal because these Bitfinex longs did predict the exact Bitcoin bottom with their previous long positions this cycle. So it is definitely quite a bullish indicator we have there. The Coinbase Premium Index is still positive here after we saw a lot of negativity here this month, and also during the biggest US selling moments we saw the biggest corrections for Bitcoin to the downside. So this is indeed a very important indicator, and if US spot selling can keep climbing up higher and can just stay at ease, it is going to be very bullish for Bitcoin and crypto. We can see that US buying is also now stagnating a little bit here back to the downside. So let's see how this will continue. We also flip negative for a very short moment here. So let's see if Bitcoin can be continuing this move, but we do know since the Coinbase Premium Index has been easing, that was also the exact moment of the Bitcoin bottom and the exact timing of the Bitcoin bounce back to the top side, now above 90k once again. So that shows you how important the indicator actually is at the current moment. Bitcoin was bouncing from off this level here out of a very oversold zone on the RSI, so it was definitely to be expected. But I also want to say that indeed this is only the 6th time Bitcoin hit these RSIs on a weekly perspective. But on the other hand, we have a midterm year incoming, 2026, that's a midterm year, just like 2022 and 2014, also midterm years. And during those years, we usually do not see very good Bitcoin performance. Same can be said for 2018 here in that perspective, that usually we don't see very good Bitcoin performance during those years. So that is something we do need to keep in mind, and the RSI can stay negative for a longer period during those midterm years. So that is basically the bear market, of course, and for now it seems like that could still be happening for Bitcoin. Then looking at the ETF flows, this week of course we have a fresh new week of ETF flows incoming. Most importantly is going to be that BlackRock ETF, because they have been the biggest seller, and also one of the biggest reasons the Coinbase Premium Index flipped so negative over the last month. If their selling can be easing and if they are going to start buying once again, that's also going to be another huge signal of a further Bitcoin continuation to the top side. And of course it also works the other way around. If they're going to keep selling, yes, we can be dumping back ever so slightly to the downside, I personally think, but the BlackRock ETF flows are definitely the most important one there. And now I do want to give a big update on my Ethereum trading position, because I'm still in a very small loss on this Ethereum position. We have been trading closely to break even lately, which is much better than the bigger losses we were in, where we were basically catching this falling knife here to the downside. But yeah, now we are close to break even. If Ethereum is going to pump ever so slightly higher, which I think could happen, because it looks like there's still room for Bitcoin to also move a little bit higher, and I think Ethereum is just going to be following Bitcoin for now. The Bitcoin performance is going to be the most important thing, also for a possible continuation of a bull market, or just a bear market, which is currently getting validated by a lot of different indicators. We should be looking into Bitcoin a little bit more than into Ethereum, in my opinion. But like stated, if Bitcoin is going to continue the bounce, I think Ethereum will be doing the same, and then I will be taking profit quite early on this Ethereum trading position, because I think it could be getting quite risky. And then I do want to do a new overview of the market, and we can be looking into potential new long or short positions in the near future. If you do want to join me with that, for example, on Ethereum or a lot of other different altcoin pairs on Albank here, make sure to come and check out this bonus you can now be claiming with the link in the description on this update video. You can now claim a 2.5k deposit bonus and a 5k generous refund, so make sure to come and check this out for yourself. If you're getting interested in that, you can be claiming this offer with that link in the description on this update video. So make sure to come and check it out if you do want to start trading yourself. And now looking back into the Ethereum chart, what we clearly can be seeing is that Ethereum is getting rejected once again from off that 50 weekly moving average. I think that's going to be a critical level for E to reclaim, to truly flip a little bit more bullish again, to move ever so slightly higher towards that bull market support band, and from there we can also be moving ever so slightly higher, but I think for now that scenario is unlikely. First of all, let's reclaim the 50 weekly moving average on the short term, and then Ethereum can continue somewhat of a bigger move back to the 3.4, 3.5k levels. I personally think there's still a possibility of that happening in somewhat of a relief rally back to the top side. And now I do want to end the video with also the QT ending perspective on altcoins. So we did discuss Bitcoin early in the video, what happened here, why it could be bullish. For others versus Bitcoin, it might be even more bullish, because the riskier the asset, the more, in my opinion, it needs somewhat of QE to truly outperform the markets. Because if QE is going to get started, more liquidity will get available, and more liquidity is going to be able to flow into the altcoin markets, like we saw happening here with QE getting started. There we saw, of course, this big uptrend within the QE, within the Fed balance sheet. We saw COVID once again, like I also discussed earlier, but something like that does not have to happen. It could happen, and then it's even a bigger catalyst for the Federal Reserve to truly pump up their balance sheet. But for now, we don't have many signals that this is going to happen once again. But of course, it's a black swan event, so nobody saw it coming. But enough about that. Even though without COVID, probably in this period of time, the Fed would have continued somewhat of QE. And that is going to be bullish for altcoins, because there's more liquidity available. The more liquidity there is, the more people are going to look for bigger risks to take with their liquidity, because there is so much more available within markets. And they will be looking into altcoins once again. And that is also the period where you do see altcoins, so the smaller altcoins priced in Bitcoin compared with Bitcoin, outperform. And I think this is needed this time, because I'm hearing a lot that, for example, in 2017 this was not the case. This is completely true. It was not the case indeed. But what I personally think is that in 2017 we had so little less altcoins. We had like a few hundred altcoins, and now we have millions of altcoins. So I simply think for all these altcoins to be outperforming, we need more liquidity. And understand, not every altcoin can outperform, but we simply need more liquidity to get this chart high, to get the others first Bitcoin charts higher. Also because the Bitcoin price, of course, now much higher. But I think it's going to be needed to see through altcoin season. And also, if you zoom into the chart, you can see that during periods of QT, so that basically started at the 2017 cycle top, we saw QT getting started, and up until QE getting started once again, that was also the exact moment where others first Bitcoin entered a new uptrend once again. We can see the same happening here in 2021, 2022. QE ends, QT gets started, and during this entire period of QT, we have not seen altcoin season. We have seen very short periods of altcoin outperformance, but this was not to be sustained, because in my opinion, there was not enough liquidity available. And basically, on the bigger perspective, it has been one big downtrend. So for me, I won't be touching much altcoins before I have more clarity about the possible start of QE and just the Federal Reserve monetary policy. And if you do want to stay updated about this, make sure to come over to the channel. Come and watch all of the live streams next week. I will be planning them in today. So subscribe now. Come and watch all live streams next week, because they are going to be super important. Also, in the VIP Telegram group, I will be updating about all of these important events, so make sure to also come and check it out here. You can join this group with the link in the description on this update video. Not only me in this group, but also Crypto Rover and 5 professional other traders. So make sure to come and check it out if you're getting interested in that, and there I can be updating in real time. And guys, that was it for today's update video. If you did enjoy today's update video, make sure to subscribe to the channel, watch and like my latest YouTube videos, and then I will see you guys within my next update video tomorrow.